Most people have never stopped to think that the direction in which they sleep may be blocking the prosperity that should be coming to them. Pay attention to what I'm going to tell you today. Wait, just a moment. Before you close this video thinking, oh, another esoteric thing, I need you to give me 5 minutes, just 5. Because what I'm going to share with you today comes from a teaching that has been kept within the circles of Kabbalistic study for centuries. It's not superstition, it's not folklore. It's a deep understanding of how energy flows and how most of us, unknowingly, position ourselves exactly against that current. Let me ask you an honest question. Do you feel like you work hard, put in effort, do everything right, but prosperity always seems to slip through your fingers? As if there were an invisible barrier between you and the abundance you deserve. I've heard this question 1,000 times, and the answer that Kabbalah offers is more concrete than you can imagine. Before continuing, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now. Every week I bring teachings like this, taken directly from ancient sources. And tell me in the comments, have you ever thought that physical factors in your environment could be affecting your prosperity? I want to know your experience. Let me tell you a story that came to me through my family. My great-grandfather, and here I speak as someone sharing a parable, a story that carries wisdom, not a historical document. My great-grandfather, according to family legend, was a simple man who arrived in a new land with nothing in his pocket. He worked from dawn to dusk. He was honest, generous, and God-fearing. And yet, for years, prosperity did not come in the way he expected. Until one day, an old rabbi from the community, one of those who studied Zohar before the sun rose, called him and asked, "In which direction do you sleep?" My great-grandfather answered. The rabbi closed his eyes for a moment and said, "Turn your bed, you are sleeping against the current of the universe." He found it strange, but he did. And he tells the story of the family that things began to change, not overnight, but like a door that finally gave way after being stuck for years. I'm not telling you this as scientific proof. I'm telling you as ancestral wisdom that deserve to be understood. Today, you will discover 3 things in this video. First, what Kabbalah teaches about the relationship between direction, energy, and prosperity, and why this is not superstition, but a coherent and profound worldview. Second, the concept of Shefa, the divine flow of abundance, and how our physical position can facilitate or block this flow in our lives. Third, a practical exercise based on these teachings that you can start this week. No cost, no complication, just a change of perspective and position. But first, I need you to understand something fundamental. Kabbalah is not a collection of magical rituals. It is a map of reality, of how divine energy descends from the higher planes to the material world where we live. And this map has directions. The first concept I want to introduce to you is Shefa. Shefa is the Hebrew word for abundance, flow, outpouring. It is not just money, it is abundance in all its forms: health, relationships, creativity, inner peace, and yes, also material prosperity. In the Kabbalistic view, Shefa flows constantly from the Creator to the world, like a river that is always running. The problem is not the scarcity of the river. The problem is when a person is positioned with their back to the current, or worse, swimming against it. And here comes something that most have never learned. Direction has a huge symbolic and energetic role in the Jewish tradition. Mizrach is the east, the direction of the sunrise, the direction of Eretz Israel for those in the diaspora, the direction toward which Jews turn in prayer. The east is associated with beginnings, awakening, and the reception of light. Tzafon is the north. In tradition, it is associated with judgment, severity, and din. It is not an evil direction, but it is a direction that requires discernment. Darom is the south, associated with mercy, chesed, warmth, and expansion. Ma'arav is the west, the sunset, the end of the cycle, the integration. Now, where do you place your head when you sleep? Sleep in Kabbalah is not simply a biological process. The Zohar teaches that during sleep, the neshama, the higher soul, ascends to receive teachings, renewal, shefa. The body remains like a vessel, and vessels have position. When tradition speaks of sleeping with the head to the east, it is not merely making a geographical reference. It says, position your vessel in the direction of awakening, of light, of reception. There is an idea in the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, one of the oldest texts of the Kabbalistic tradition, that the cosmos is organized in dimensions, above and below, east and west, north and south, beginning and end, and that the human being, created in the divine image, is a microcosm. What happens in the macro happens in the micro. If the east is the direction of cosmic awakening, Mizrach, where the light begins, then orienting the body in that direction during sleep is a way to tune the microcosm with the macrocosm. Does that sound abstract? I'll make it more concrete. Think of it this way. Have you ever entered a room and felt, without being able to explain, that something was wrong? The environment was misaligned, perhaps the arrangement of the furniture, perhaps the lighting, perhaps something you couldn't name. That sense of alignment or misalignment is not an illusion, it is perception. Kabbalah systematizes this perception. She says, there are directions of opening and directions of closing. And when you, during the most vulnerable hours of your existence, sleep, are oriented towards closing, something in your neshama cannot fully receive. A pattern that often appears among people who study these teachings is the following. When they start to pay attention to the environment where they sleep, the direction, the organization, the intention with which they enter the room, they report a gradual change in the quality of sleep, in mental clarity upon waking, and eventually in a feeling that things start to flow better. I'm not promising instant transformation. I'm saying that alignment matters, and that the ancient wisdom that has survived for millennia did not survive by chance. Now, there is another concept I need to introduce to you before we get to the practical exercises. Tikkun, correction, rectification. The idea that the world is in the process of being fixed, and that each person has a role in this correction. Your personal tikkun is a set of blockages you came to this world to transform. And here's what many people don't realize. Some prosperity blockages are not karmas or punishments. They are simply misalignments. Like an antenna that is almost on the right frequency, it just needs a fine-tuning. The direction of sleep can be one of those fine-tunings. But direction is just one part of what Kabbalah teaches about the environment of prosperity. There is the concept of kedusha, holiness, separation. The bedroom, in tradition, is a space that should have kedusha. Not in the sense that you need to turn it into a synagogue, but in the sense that it should be a space of intention. What is in your room? Are there objects that carry memories of conflict, failure, or relationships that ended badly? Tradition suggests, and this is not superstition, it is deep psychology, that the physical environment affects the internal state. Kedusha in the room means this is a space of renewal, of connection, of opening to the shefa. And there's more. The Shulchan Aruch, the code of Jewish law, mentions practices related to the sleeping environment. One of the most well-known is the Kriyat Shema al Amita, the recitation of the Shema before sleeping. Why? Because it is a declaration of alignment. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. It is a statement of unity before releasing consciousness into sleep. Unity, Echad. That is the state that opens the channels of Shefa. Now we come to the practical part, and I want you to take note, mentally or on paper, because these exercises are simple but require consistency. Exercise 1. The conscious repositioning. This week, find out what the geographical east is in your room. You can use your phone's compass. It doesn't have to be perfect. Approximate is enough. Now, position your bed so that your head points to the east while sleeping. If this is impossible due to the architecture of the room, the second option is south, Darom, the direction of chesed, of mercy. Avoid, if possible, sleeping with your head to the north, Tzafon, the direction of severe judgment. Tradition has reservations about this orientation. Do this for 21 consecutive days. 21, 3 times 7, is a number of consolidation in the Kabbalistic tradition. It is the time it takes for a habit to begin to take root, for a change to start being incorporated. Exercise 2. The intention of entry. Every human being enters their room dozens of times a week without thinking about anything. Change that. Starting today, every time you enter your room to sleep, pause for 3 seconds at the door, just 3, and say, aloud or internally, these words. Baruch Ata Hashem, shomer et nafshi b'sheinati. Blessed are you, Hashem, who guards my soul while I sleep. This phrase is not magical in the sense of enchantment. It is a reorienter of attention. It is you telling your nervous system, your neshama, we are entering a sacred space. We are opening to receive. Do this for 21 days. Write down on a simple sheet, in a notebook, on your phone, how you feel upon waking. I am not asking you to invent a transformation. I am asking you to observe honestly. Exercise 3. The Kedusha cleaning. On a day this week, Saturday is ideal, but any day will do, dedicate 30 minutes to your room. This is not a regular cleaning, it is an intentional cleaning. Remove from the room everything that carries negative memory. Photos of relationships that caused pain. Objects from difficult periods that you keep without knowing why. You don't have to throw them away. You can store them elsewhere. But remove them from the space of renewal. Then, if possible, open the windows. Let the air circulate. Tradition speaks of renewing the environment. If you have access to herbs like rue or similar, or simply natural incense, use them. Not as a magical ritual, but as a sensory marker. Smell is the sense most directly connected to memory and emotional state. You are creating a physical signal. This space is different now. Finish by placing something that represents Shefa for you. It could be a passage from the Torah written on a piece of paper. It could be an image that evokes peace and abundance. It could simply be a glass of fresh water, a symbol of flow. Exercise 4. The nightly Heshbon HaNefesh. Heshbon HaNefesh. Heshbon HaNefesh is the inventory of the soul, a practice of self-examination that the masters of Musar, the Jewish ethical tradition, recommended as a daily habit. Before sleeping, after the Kriyat Shema, dedicate 3 to 5 minutes to mentally answer 3 questions. First, where today did I act in alignment with who I want to be? Second, where today did I stray, without harsh judgment, just observation? Third, what can be different tomorrow? This exercise is not self-punishment, it is calibration. You are tuning your antenna before releasing consciousness into sleep. And when the neshama rises during the night to receive teaching, it rises calibrated. With consistent practice, this habit cultivates clarity, self-responsibility, and a quality of presence that begins to affect all areas of life, including financial decisions, relationships, and the opportunities you can or cannot see. Now I need to be honest with you about something important. There is a resistance that will appear. It may already be appearing as you watch this video. The rational mind will say, this is something for superstitious people, or bad direction doesn't change anything in real life, or I don't have time to think about this. And this resistance, Kabbalah calls it klipa, the shell, the layer that surrounds and blocks the inner light. Klipa is not the devil, it is inertia. It is the old pattern that wants to perpetuate itself. It is the thought that says, it has always been this way, it will always be this way. And the tikkun, the correction, starts exactly there. At the moment you consciously choose to do differently, even if it seems small, even if it seems unlikely. The rabbi who told my great-grandfather to turn the bed was not promising instant wealth. He was saying, start to position yourself differently and see what changes. I also want to address expectation management directly. These teachings are not a solution to structural financial problems. If you have debts, you need concrete financial planning. If you have serious relational conflicts, you need dialogue and perhaps professional guidance. Kabbalah does not replace action in the world. What it offers is a layer of inner alignment that supports and enhances action. It is the difference between rowing with the current or against it. The effort may be the same, the result is different. And the teachings about direction, about Shefa, about Kedusha in the environment, they are part of this layer of alignment. They are practices that cultivate a different internal orientation. And this orientation, over time, changes what you perceive, what you seek, what you attract. Before finishing, I have a genuine request for you. If you apply any of these exercises, the repositioning of the bed, the intention of entry, the cleaning of Kedusha, the Cheshbon HaNefesh, and notice any change, no matter how small, please share in the comments. It doesn't have to be a dramatic transformation. It could be, I slept better this week. It could be, I woke up with a different clarity. It could be, something that was stuck got resolved. These real testimonies are what build this community, and they may be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take the first step. And now, before concluding, let me give you the blessings that these teachings deserve. May Hashem bless you and keep you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and grant you peace. This is the Aaronic blessing, Birkat Kohanim, recorded in the book of Numbers, pronounced by the priest over the people for millennia. I pronounce it over you today with the same intention. May the Shefa flow. May the blockages yield. May the alignment you seek manifest, in your sleep, in your waking, and in all that you build while you are awake. Peace and blessing upon you and your house. In the next video, I will talk about a teaching from the Sefer Rabbi, one of the oldest texts of the Jewish mystical tradition, about how the word you speak in the first minutes of the morning build or destroy the prosperity of the entire day. It is a teaching that will change your morning forever. Don't miss it. If this video touched something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not because I need numbers, but because Shefa multiplies when it is passed on. Until the next meeting.